Hi folks, so the new moon in Aquarius, which occurred about 5 hours ago, finally has opened the portal, or opened the door for us to start to take action wherever it is Aquarius is in our chart. I have done, my past few videos have been focused on the sign of Aquarius because we have 5 planets there. If you count the moon as a planet and you look at the new moon at the time of the new moon until the end of the day today, Pacific time, there'll be 6 planets in Aquarius. Mercury moved into Aquarius in the beginning of January, so we already started to be thinking about this, but even prior to that, Jupiter and Saturn moved into Aquarius in the middle of December and had that grand conjunction here on December the 21st, 2020, making this part of your chart an important agenda item for the next 20 years, okay? Mercury came in here in the beginning of January 6th, 7th, 8th, around that time, to start a conversation, and almost made its way through to start to, on a mental and a communication level, activate this part of the chart. Excuse me. On January the 20th or thereabouts, the sun came into Aquarius, spotlighting the sector of the chart and starting the process of us subconsciously processing whatever was going on in this part of the chart. Beginning of February, Mercury went retrograde after almost going through the entire sign of Aquarius. And Venus came into this part of the chart. Yesterday's video was on Venus in Aquarius. You will need to check that out for this video to have even more resonance. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. And Venus bringing in opportunities, Mercury retrograde, making it imperative that we not be too hasty to make up our mind or decide, and to go back to the plan and really examine what our thinking has been in this area. Venus's presence here not only bringing opportunities, relationship, financial, but also requiring us to really think about what our values are. And with so much firepower in the chart, not only is Venus helping, she's also being helped, because Venus on her own does not always have the impotence to stand up for those values, to make those values count. So she often needs the energy of Mars or a new moon or Mercury to start to translate that into some sort of action. Now, the new moon is the gate that opens. And look, the Sun, Mercury, and sometimes Venus often are in the same sign around the time when the Sun is there and a new moon occurs. Irrespective, the transits of the Sun and Mercury, but also Venus, whatever order they happen in any given sign, work with the energy of the new moon in the following way. Prior to the new moon, whatever the Sun, Mercury, and Venus do activate those particular archetypes in our sort of body, mind, values, opportunities, everything. And then when the new moon occurs, it's typically only then that we can start to really feel like we can get into action. Now, a week from today, the Sun is going to be out of Aquarius into Pisces. However, we have a new moon in Aquarius today. The next new moon is March the 13th. Mercury is still in Aquarius till March the 15th. So finally being able to act in this part of the chart for the next 4 weeks, even though the Sun is out of here in a week's time and Venus is going to be out of here on the 25th of February, doesn't mean that the sign of Mercury isn't important and doesn't count. It absolutely does till the middle of March. And in fact, the sign of Aquarius continues to count for the rest of this year while Jupiter transits it, and till January 2023, till Saturn transits it. Typically to clients I'm saying till the end of December, till the end of 2022, but Saturn remains for some portion of 2023 in this part of the chart also. Now, the fact that the Sun is about a week away from entering Pisces, you can already start to feel that Pisces energy, and succeeding houses are in conversation with each other. So for example, if Aquarius in your chart is in your house of partnerships, then Pisces will be in the 8th house of shared resources and intimacy and the actual nature of the relationship. So that conversation is already starting up and is going to intensify. But we've still got to focus on wherever Aquarius is in. Not only do the gates open tomorrow, then Mercury goes direct on the 21st. And I would imagine that by the time Venus leaves on the 25th, it starts to gather a certain amount of momentum. So really the time to finalize things related to this chart in the timeline that is associated with the new moon may well be into March. And if some of the energies of Pisces start to be in conversation with Aquarius, some of that could even continue into April. It doesn't matter. We've got a timeline till the middle of March, a timeline till the end of 2022, even into 2023, and then another timeline of 20 years that we've got to consider wherever Aquarius is in our chart, and it has not been active. On a collective level, starting today, it is all about moving forward. Even though Mercury is retrograde, there's a glance back. But what had to be done and dealt with and considered since December 2017, even the middle of July 2018, is now done. Whatever needs to be done now is much more forward-looking and may build on as a result of consequences of things that have happened before. And while Mercury is retrograde, sure, for example, like with the impeachment, there's a glance backwards. But the glance backwards, at this point in time, the Mercury retrograde is impacting the future. Mercury retrograde acts as a bridge between closing out a past chapter in Scorpio and starting a new chapter in Aquarius. The Mercury cycle just started in Aquarius, and that Mercury cycle continues into June. So wherever Aquarius is, we're going to be communicating, thinking, talking about it. Jupiter is going to be whatever Mercury, Venus, the Sun, this new moon, Mercury direct, spark up in February and March, continues to develop, seriously develop for the rest of this year and into next year. So, for example, I gave the example yesterday about if Aquarius is in the part of the chart that has to do with residence, something may come to a head or spark up, or your restlessness may finally start to move forward, or in March may gain even greater clarity. You may start the process of looking however it turns out. You could move this year, you could move next year, you could, it starts that process. The important thing, as I said, with Venus is be clear about what you value. And most importantly, with the fact that after Mercury leaves, it leaves behind Jupiter and Saturn. And after Jupiter leaves at the end of 2021, it leaves Saturn. Be clear that the more you align with Saturnian energies of responsible, real, practical, this is not the time for fantasy. Not only is Aquarius as a sign notoriously, rigidly real, devoid of magic, negating magic, won't believe in magic until it can prove it scientifically, even though it is such an extraordinarily innovative sign with developments in medicine and technology. But, it's almost a kind of a sign where if I start to talk about astrology, or I start to talk about the fact that there is a sixth sense, because if I look at someone in a park, I can make them turn around. I'm sure you guys have done this too, without touching them, without any of the five senses being involved. I can be looking at someone the other end of the park and just look at them and they will turn around and go, what the hell was that? We deal with the sixth sense in this kind of basic way all the time. And Aquarius initially will say bullshit, and then we'll say, all right, now let me prove it. And then we'll take that proof and start to build on it. It's not without its shadow side, which is what Pisces, the next sign, tries to counter, which is a sense of faith and magic and consciousness. And the defeat of Aquarius has to do with the fact that science can never catch up to nature. So whatever is built scientifically not only brings tremendous innovation and relief and progress, but then also starts to mess with what is natural and what cannot always be reduced to our current understanding of science. And then Pisces comes along and says, let me fix that, let me complete that. But while these planetary influences are in Aquarius, we are called on to be extremely clear and real and discerning about the decisions we make in this part of our life. If you act in haste, or if you continue to not heed your intuitive awareness of acting against yourself, or aligning with patterns and behaviors that are no longer working with you, that Saturn is going to try and rid you of, you can end up making decisions and move forward and make a decision, and only to find over the next 2 years that you will be tested and be asked to build the spine, very Saturnian, to deal with the karmic results of your choices, and to learn and to grow from them over and over again until you build that muscle. Now, the transits that this new moon is affecting are Saturn square Uranus. Here we are back to Saturn again. Saturn is the most important planet in this chart because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Aquarius. Venus is currently ruled by Uranus and Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn became, so again, Saturn shows up. Saturn square Uranus. Whatever in Taurus, Uranus is going to win. But in order for Uranus to win and liberate you and develop you wherever Taurus sits in your chart, you have to first deal with the homework that Saturn is setting up for you. Otherwise, Saturn will restrict your growth. You will not be able to make the kind of progress that Uranus is trying to make if you make decisions that are against yourself that Saturn is trying to teach you and coach you on. If you are not making karmically responsible, intentional decisions that are both practical, sound, hardworking, real, disciplined, not pleasurable, not lazy, not procrastinating, not those things that defeat you, and not even necessarily, be very careful of defining good under Saturn. It's not about being a doormat. Your intentions are not about pleasing others or making others happy. Your intentions are about what is right and what needs to be done. Saturn is preoccupied with you and your potential and why you are here. So whatever choice or whatever activity is happening where Aquarius sits in your chart, slow and steady wins the race. Enjoy the fact that Venus is bringing opportunities. Enjoy the fact, if you can, that Mercury is retrograde and you want to make progress and you want to see results, but you won't till March. You won't. In fact, signing anything till February the 21st, you'll regret it, probably, or will have to make amends for it moving forward. It doesn't feel right. The decision-making for settling on something is not right and does not feel right. And you'll know this. So, this is not going to be a long video. I don't need to keep it long. But the gates are opening. So if you have finally done with the pressure cooker that has been building wherever Aquarius sits in your chart, whatever house it occupies, what that stands for, then now it is allowing you to start to take a certain amount of action. Some of this action is going to be communication related. Mercury and Venus conjunct to each other on the 13th. So planet of opportunities, planet of retrograde communications and conversations and thinking through. Mercury then meets up with Jupiter the next day on the 14th. The 14th is the 2-month anniversary of the December 14th eclipse. Separate video on that I will do. And then on March the 4th, after Mercury goes direct, February the 21st, Mercury direct meets up with Jupiter again to create this new beginning that has been percolating and percolating and percolating. So if you're ready to start to take action and get off your butt and get the ships out, by all means do so. Just be mindful and be careful that around February the 21st, things will become a little bit nutty, and do not pressure yourself to make up your mind on things and sign the dotted line till you're into March. Maybe February 23rd to February 25th, maybe into March. Some of the decision making, if it is not right now, might happen by the end of this year, as Jupiter goes through Aquarius and comes back into Aquarius after going into Pisces over the summer and then makes its way out. Some of it may go into next year. And in fact, having a bit of this 2-year timeline around it, but really setting the stage in the most Saturnian, responsible. Think about the fact that you have a strict teacher who wants you to ace your exam. You can't be lazy, you've got to do your homework, you've got to work hard, you've got to make good decisions, right decisions. You cannot leave anything up to fate, faith, luck, chance, fantasy. It's up to you. Whatever is you need to do in this part of the chart is up to you. So make those Saturnian responsible decisions that will reward you by the end of next year. If you act in haste, you may have to work in this part of the chart multiple times. So try and do the best you can now based on the choices and decisions you need to make, and don't act in haste. If you feel like, oh, I need to move house, maybe you need to set things up and things are starting to be in motion, and maybe the smarter thing to do is really, if you haven't found the right thing, you haven't found the right thing. If you haven't found the right person, the right solution, it isn't the right person or solution. But the ships are out there. Things are moving. After February 21st, Mercury will be retrograde. The new moon is here. By the time we have the full moon in Virgo, planets will be direct. March and April, forward movement. Forward movement. So start planting those seeds, take action. It isn't a normal new moon, you'll see some stuff come up in the next 48 to 72 hours. Many of us will anyway. And just wait till Mercury goes direct. Figure out what you want, what your ideal is, what your values are in this part of the chart, and start to act accordingly. And be careful under Saturn's influence to not compromise on what should be compromised on. That will make you successful. But don't compromise on what will hamper your success, because it won't allow Uranus, where the square is occurring, to do what needs to be done. The other thing is that these planets in Aquarius are trining the North Node in Gemini. This is about the future, guys, and even on a collective level. You know, since the middle of November till the end of February, till the end of January, when Mercury was still direct, we had one wave. While Mercury is retrograde, people are catching up with where things are at from a social and political level, moving towards equality. And now, even though there's some past stuff that's been cleared up till the end of February, after that it's all onward, 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 forward, forward, forward. Even for someone like Donald Trump in his chart. You know, based on my understanding of his chart, all of this is happening in his house of marriage and partnerships and legal affairs, and can't make this up. So, you know, but it's all forward, it's all in front. Now what we're dealing with is in front of us. So make good choices. Okay, like, share a video, subscribe to channel, click the bell icon if you subscribe so you're notified when I do new videos. My contact information is in the description area. Contact me to inquire for rates of reading should you feel inclined. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay? Take care.